Okay, we are here. First day of college football season. I bet Florida's a favorite by now. Boy, that line is dropping after Utah quarterback went out, but we digress. So opening well, there was week 0, but college football season starts and NASCAR Sunday night in one of the crown jewel races. It's the Southern Cookout 500 at Darlington. This is, the 125th time they come to Darlington. It's a race, steeped in a tremendous amount of tradition. It also is the first race of 10 playoff races. So in this round, there's 16 drivers that are in the playoffs. And after 3 races, which are Darlington, Kansas, and Bristol, then 4 guys are eliminated. Again, to say it as I do every week, they're not eliminated from being in the race. They're just eliminated from winning the championship. So that's how that works. So everyone's going to run this week, including the guy that won this summer race last year, Eric Jones, who's not in the playoffs, but whatever, he's in it as well. So we'll go over that too pretty soon. So it's an egg-shaped surface. This is a weird configuration. They kind of say, again, it's a very high tire wear track. 30 laps into a run, 3 seconds or more is added to the lap time. So it's a rough pavement. These tires are getting torn up. There's 13 sets of tires in this race in the 367 laps. So if you do the math, it's a lot of pit stops. So this week we have pit data and the teams that do well in pits. That's going to be a huge factor this week. Who can save their tires? Who does well on high tire wear tracks? Darlington track history too. They say the tracks you could compare it to are Dover, Auto Club and Homestead. So Truex won at Dover this year. Kyle Busch won at Auto Club. And then Kyle Larson won at Homestead last year. Homestead is in the playoffs later on. So you look at guys who are good at Dover, Truex, Harvick, Larson, Auto Club, Busch, Elliott, Jones, Homestead, Harvick, Hamlin, Busch, Truex. So again, I think, you look at this race, it's, to bet or not to bet before practice and qualifying, 4 of the last 10 winners here started outside the top 10. Nobody started. So it's been 16 races since Reagan Smith, who's now on TV, won from outside the top 20. He started 23rd. So again, if you don't roll off the car well at this track, history suggests you're not going to finish well, at least on the outright win, at least on the win end. And track position just so important. Last week, it was not important at all. Watkins Glen, a road course, important. This track is important. At last 10 races, average of 8.5 cautions a race. Last summer in this race, the one that Jones won, the second of 2 races at Darlington, Busch led 155 laps. And his engine blew, and then Truex led 48 laps and had a water pump. So as we'll see in the speed ratings, there are some vagaries with this track, especially the tire wear. I don't see really the tire wear impacting necessarily an engine blowing, but that's near. Last summer's race, which is 500 miles, not 400, which the spring is, half of the top 10 started in the top 10. So Chevy has, done terrible here since 2015, but the last 2 races they've won, and Eric Jones and then William Byron. So what's the track trend? Is it Chevy's? If you look at who does well at these high tire wear tracks, it's not necessarily Chevy's, because because like Busch, he does, but he was a Toyota till this year. So as we said a bunch of times. So again, those are just a couple notes. High tire wear, a lot of action in the pits. And again, it's important to qualify well because you have a good pit stall. So practice and qualifying. So I'm probably going to not really go heavy. There's one play I am going to go heavy on before, but I'm probably not going to go super heavy till after practice and qualifying. And this is a race I could live bet. I mean, if you live bet it last year, Chastain and Truex were the fastest cars. They did not. I mean, they had problems. Busch had a problem. He dominated the race too. So again, it's it's gambling. Nothing's easy about it. So it is the Cookout Southern 500, 6 p.m. national TV audience on USA. 367 laps, on the 1.5-mile track, so 501 miles. And they call this one Too Tough to Tame. This is a track where, I lean heavily in my modeling on past success here, just because it's guys who, not necessarily the experience, because all you're doing is turning left, right? I mean, correct. I mean, but at the same time, it's guys who know how to take care of their stuff, take care of their tires, and have good pit teams. So let's go ahead and share the screen. And we're going to start with the playoffs. So here is the playoffs. So there's 16 guys in the playoffs. Not that you'll remember, but I'm going to name them. Harvick, McDowell, Logano, Blaney, Bell, Busch, Hamlin, Byron, Truex, Larson, Buescher, Chastain, Reddick, Keselowski, Stenhouse, and Wallace. Those guys are in. Again, Chase Elliott, who's a past Cup champ, we've well documented him. He is not in the playoffs. Daniel Suarez, who's been a playoff guy, is not in the playoffs. Alex Bowman, not in the playoffs. Ty Gibbs, not in the playoffs. Austin Cindric, not in the playoffs. Eric Jones, not in the playoffs. So we look at that. Also, let's look at top 10, performance chart. Harvick has done very, very well here. Logano has done well here. Hamlin, Keselowski, Larson, Reddick, Jones, Dillon, and Busch, in terms of their, average finishes, have done well here. Look at Martin Truex. I put that on there. He's 20th with an 18.2 average finish, but look, he's run well here. He's just had 2 races he didn't finish, and that screws up his average. But Hamlin has been good. Logano, Harvick, Reddick, and Bell are 2 guys that have been good here as of late. William Byron won here in the, in the spring. He's always good. He, again, I wasn't so sure. There was a little shimmer off that shine, of William Byron, but as of late, he's really come on. Obviously, he did not win the championship. Martin Truex Jr. did, but Byron won a race as recently as 2 weeks ago, right? In a place where he's not necessarily known for being great, at Watkins Glen. So that goes that. Harrison Burton's a guy. I was about to say Jeb Burton. Harrison Burton's a guy that has a good average finish. Blaney, Larson, and then Truex. So that's how that goes. And then last 5 Darlington points. Hamlin, Logano, Bell has done well here. Byron, Harvick, Elliott, Blaney, Keselowski, Larson, and Reddick. So Elliott's a guy I really don't know what to do with. I mean, he obviously has a chip on his shoulder. He has a long streak of, winning seasons. Like, he's won a race in every season. Kyle Busch, that was in jeopardy a couple of years ago for him, but he was able to get it done. So I think Elliott will win one of these next 10 races. Definitely. Really one of the next 9, because I think in the final 4 race, in Phoenix, it's, usually one of those championship 4 guys wins. There's a lot of good tracks for Chase Elliott coming up. I think he'll win. But again, as we talk about a lot on here, driver intent, how much motivation does this team have now that they're not in the playoffs? So that's that. And then laps led at Darlington. Look at how just dominant Martin Truex has been. Martin Truex has been absolutely dominant at this racetrack in, leading twice as many laps as the next guy. So that is that. Here we go. So total speed rankings. Look, last year, I mean, Chastain and Truex were the fastest. No, this is actually in the spring. Chastain, Truex, and Byron. Byron and Truex were the same. Byron won the race. He was fast. The other two guys, they didn't do too well. They couldn't finish the race. Kyle Busch did okay. Kyle Larson, nothing to show for it. Chris Bell, fast car, nothing to show for it. Harvick, again, Harvick's always there. Keselowski is a guy who's getting a lot of buzz. Stenhouse, and Blaney. Keselowski's a guy who made the playoffs. He was pretty high up in the points, one of two guys to make it without winning a race. He's somebody who really is a guy who is due to win. And as you'll see in our plays, we feel that way. So again, we talked about pit stops and how important they are. These guys, most of them are ex-college athletes, college football players. These guys are in tip-top shape. They practice all week. You can go on YouTube and look at the videos. Also, if I listen to the audio a lot, the scanner, a lot of it is the crew chief from the top of the box and the engineer kind of diagnosing things and telling them what adjustments to make. They're just kind of executing it, those guys, the athletes on the pit crew. So pit crews, again, very important, when to come down for tires. This week, it's going to be pretty easy because every time they come down pit road, because there's 13 sets of tires, they're taking 4 tires. They're not going to really have to save tires. Maybe they'll save one set of tires for a overtime situation. So they have fresh tires, but not necessarily because I don't know if they'll give up the track position. So it's gonna be more brawn than brains this week in my estimation. So if you look at, there's common threads here. I mean, Trackhouse has 2 of the top 8 teams in Chastain and Suarez. Hendrick has 3 good teams, Byron, Larson, and Elliott. Keselowski is a very good team. He part owner of that team. He's the K and RFK. Gibbs is hit or miss, right? Because look at Gibbs. I mean, Hamlin, Truex, and Ty Gibbs all are in the top 10 in pit crew rankings. But look at Chris Bell. And again, it's a large enough sample size. It's 26 races that it's pretty accurate. So Eric Jones has not been good in the pits this year. His team, Kyle Busch has not been great. So Reddick and Bell are guys that actually we like this week because of value. But again, it kind of contradicts what we said. So we might not. I actually might back off on one of those plays. I'll probably tweet out the plays Sunday before the race. But we went with them mainly because value. So I would say the best bet this week is Martin Truex Jr., a top 5, but it's minus 130. Not touching that. Going to wait for the race to unfold, see if we could get him at a good price, 3 or 4 to 1 to win the race, depending how he qualifies, right? Pick your poison, right? It could be this minus 130 could be a bargain, right? He could qualify first. He could be up front all day. You don't sweat it. It's an easy winner. Or he kind of qualifies slow, something happens to him, and then you get the value on the back end. That's the hardest part of betting NASCAR is knowing, kind of when to make your plays after practicing qualifying, looking at that non-loop data, that Highline Betting and Laying Coin does, and really analyzing it and seeing when should we make these plays. Again, it's unlike any other sport in that, obviously there is in-game betting in other sports as there's in NASCAR, but it's almost like, that you see almost a scrimmage game in football, a scrimmage. Jalapeno likes football. He's a Notre Dame guy. Shout out Jalapeno. And he loves Sam Hartman. I know he bet him with the bookie. Bookie 100 short limit for the bookie on that. With Sam Hartman to win the Heisman. He's limiting guys on that. But at 15-1. But I think back to my point, you're really seeing a bit, sample size with the practice and qualifying. So you have to know at this track, like we said, track position's important. Guys have started up top. If you're 15 or lower qualifying wise, not a great chance to win the race, but you certainly finish in the top 10. But in terms of outright at top 3 and top 5, it's going to be tough. So my plays for the week, I like Kyle Busch a lot here. And again, these are 3 guys with slow pit stalls. But my biggest play of the week, and the thing I would recommend playing now, is Ford winning the race at 4-1 on Barstool. So in the Ford stable, you have Logano, you have Blaney, you have Keselowski, you have Buescher, you have Harvick, you even have Almirola. So you have a ton of guys to do well who do well at this track. 4-1 was the best number I could get on that. I saw it as low as 3.5-1. I think that could go down after practice and qualifying. But again, you're not dependent on one guy there. You have all 4 drivers. So again, in doing that, then we want to look at guys who Harrison Burton is just kind of a moonshot, top 10, 850 at Barstool. If a guy runs pretty well at this track, he'll keep it clean. Yeah, he's not in the playoffs, but he's someone we would take. But I think the reason I like Bell, Reddick, and Busch is Bell is a top 5 machine, right? Reddick is done well, and Busch is very, very good on high tire wear tracks, and you're getting them at a plus number. So now you're asking their pit crew to step up this week. Look, these guys are all professionals, right? They all, like they say in college sports, they all, like Loyola Marymount basketball, for our friend, R.I.P. Hank. The guys on the other team are getting scholarships too. So everyone's training hard. It's championship chase. These guys want to do a good job on the pit crew. So, obviously, being 22nd, 23rd in pit crew rankings isn't necessarily an encouraging thing, but maybe that's why you're getting some value. So again, big week, starts the playoffs. Really excited to see what happens, and want to wish everyone the best of luck this week with their college football plays as that really gets going full steam week 1. Pretty good games tonight, and then good games Saturday. I'll be at the Rutgers game on Sunday. I play Northwestern, big game for us. We gotta take care of business there if we want to make a bowl. But yeah, so Southern 500, great race, Labor Day weekend tradition. Really one of the prestigious races. And, the fact that's the first race of the playoffs, we've talked about this, guys who win that first race of the playoffs, the pressure's off them. They automatically advance to the next stage. So it's very big. So they're really going to try to win this. Because if you look, this track in Kansas are pretty conventional tracks. Bristol, as they say, it's Bristol, baby. Bristol is a whole different animal. It's a short track and a lot of chaos and mayhem. You usually don't want to leave it to the last week of the playoffs, of the round to make it. So guys are really going to be trying this hard this week to get stage points and race for the win in a good position. All right. Good luck to everybody, and we'll see you next week.